Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The abrogation of Article 370, the construction of Ram Temple in Ayodhya, and the implementation of a uniform civil code in India. These have been the BJP's long-standing agenda. The party has fulfilled 2 of its promises, and the remaining one is the implementation of UCC. Will one nation, one law become the key focal point for the BJP for the 2024 Lok Sabha elections? Well, it certainly looks like that. With less than 300 days remaining for the crucial general elections, the push for UCC has now come from the highest levels of the party and the government. During a rally in Bhopal, remember, Prime Minister Modi asserted that there cannot be 2 laws for one family and criticized opposition parties for, quote, inciting minority communities against UCC. The anti-BJP bloc, which recently met in Patna, remains divided over this concept. While the Aam Aadmi Party and the Uddhav Sena have provided conditional support to the very idea of a UCC, DMK, RJD, left parties are opposing it. Positions of the Congress, interestingly, are still unclear. Will UCC serve as a litmus test for opposition unity ahead of 2024? Considering that various parties hold diverse views based on their ideologies and support bases, will this end up dividing an already divided opposition house? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. Here's an overview of the positions taken by various political parties. So the BJP and interestingly the Aam Aadmi Party, Uddhav Sena, AIA, DMK and the TDP have lent their support to UCC. The likes of DMK, SAD, interesting the Shiromani Akali Dal, RJD, NC, PDP, BSP, SP, AIMIM, TMC, JDS and left are opposed to the centre's move. Meanwhile, Congress, the likes of JDU, NCP, YRCP and the BRS are yet to make their stand clear. It's likely that they will wait and watch as and when if a bill is tabled. The Uniform Civil Code has exposed that all opposition parties may not be willing to oppose the concept. So, the Aam Aadmi Party interestingly expressed its quote in principle support for the centre's proposal. Congress Party remains uncertain but is expected to conduct some sort of an internal survey and gather more information and opinions before voicing that stance. MK Stalin-led DMK has outrightly rejected UCC, calling it a violation of fundamental rights. And Uddhav Sena, because of its past history, despite the accusations that they've not really stuck to Hindutva anymore, has offered its support for the UCC, but have added that they want to see the fine print or the specific details of the proposed code before committing to it fully. So the big question that we're asking today, UCC, is it going to be a test of the opposition unity ahead of 2024? Could this be one of the factors that ends up dividing them, creating fissures? And also, will this now be one of the biggest poll issues ahead of the next general election?
संविधान में भी आप ऐसे देखेंगे तो आर्टिकल 44 इसका समर्थन करती है, तो सैद्धांतिक रूप से हम इसका समर्थन करते हैं।
Party is yet to take a formal position. All I'm doing is quoting the views expressed by Jawaharlal Nehru.
ओवैसी जैसी सोच रखने वाले लोग हैं, उलेमा हैं, उनको दिक्कत होने लगती है। उनके लिए देश सर्वोपरि नहीं है, इसलिए जनता को भ्रमित करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। ऐसे ही ट्रिपल तलाक पे भ्रमित करने की कोशिश की थी।
Let's go across to the guests joining us. Tuhin Sinha from the BJP, Siddharth Sharma of the Aam Aadmi Party, Harish Rai Dhanda is Senior Vice President of the Shiromani Akali Dal, Paras Gandhi is joining us from the DMK, and Desh Ratan Nigam is lawyer, political analyst, leans towards the RSS. Let me begin with Harish Rai Dhanda of the Shiromani Akali Dal. You've made your stand clear. You have, of course, been an ally of the BJP in the past, and the BJP has forever talked about UCC. Why is it that you're opposing UCC today?
Whenever BJP had an alliance and formed a government, they had minimum program every time. And it was never included in that. Now the question is, why this 22nd Law Commission when 21st Law Commission's recommendations are pending since last 5 years? Why those have not been addressed to? Wherein Justice Chauhan had clearly said it's neither necessary nor desirable.
Right.
And further he quoted that different but not discriminatory, but indicative of robust democracy. He even said we can have equal rights for everyone in every religion. We need not have the same law for every religion.
Yes, absolutely. That may be so. That may be the Law Commission's view, but the Law Commission doesn't decide what laws are brought in this country. Right? I want to know as a party, what is your opinion? Are you for UCC or not? You've certainly not made your opinion after what the Law Commission says.
We are very clear that we are not in favor of UCC, and I will refer to even the constituent debates of 23rd November 48, wherein Ambedkar ji, Munshi, Krishna Swami Iyer gave their views, and similarly, Muhammad Ismail, Nasiruddin Ahmad, Muhammad Ali Beg, Bahadur Hussain Imam had given their views. Some of the Muslims' friends argued that there should be a law, whereas it was argued it should not be. It was a debate on Article 35, because it was included in fundamental rights to have a uniform civil code. And ultimately, after long discussion, it was thought that no, it will not be in a fundamental rights.
It will be a directive principle. But I still don't get it. That doesn't preclude your... One second. That doesn't preclude your position. Why do you oppose UCC? Please elucidate your point of view.
Our point of view is very clear. You can have similar rights for women in every community and every religion. But as per their customs, culture, they are totally different.
So how do you have similar rights?
What about the matrimonial rights? They're not civil rights. They can have their own civil rights.
Like how?
Which give equal right.
How? Can you explain to me how?
The part of law which says Muslim can marry more than one, you can strike it down.
Okay.
Triple taraq, you can strike it down.
Right.
But at the same time, you yourself brought an Andhkaraj Act. What will you deal with it?
No, so for example, you're saying polygamy can be struck down, but don't you think the Muslim community will object to that?
You see, in most of the countries, there are the civil codes, and it's not working well. Even in US, it's not working well.
No, see, you're changing the goalpost now. We don't do everything according to what works outside, right? I'm just trying to understand from you. You make a point that you can strike certain practices which are discriminatory, but you need not bring a uniform code for everybody. But you forgot, for example, in some communities, it is legal, according to their personal laws, to marry girls even at the age of 14. What about that?
Strike down.
So then what is left?
But most of the thing is left. The personal law is left. Now you brought the amendment to the Hindu Marriage Act. You gave co-parental rights against the Mitakshara school to the daughters. It has destroyed the fiber. Daughter-in-law should have been given. You see, the law, you can discuss on this. You can bring out the changes in the laws. You can make the change in a Muslim law, in a Christian law, in a Hindu law. You can make a change. Give an equal right to every lady. What is the problem? Give equality.
All right. You're saying don't go for a uniform civil code. Strike down bad practices otherwise. Let me take Tuhin Sinha's response to that. But before Tuhin Sinha responds, I do want to tell our viewers, because you mentioned the Constituent Assembly and the debates. In Ambedkar, and I'll run what Ambedkar said during those debates. He was for the UCC, even though there was no consensus on it. He also mentions till 1937, before the Shariat law was brought in, most of the Muslims in this country under the British, minus some places, were already under a similar jurisdiction as all of the Hindus. So my question also is, if it was okay under the British till 1937, why is it not okay again? Is it because of present day politics on the same? But I'll take that forward later. Let me also go across to Tuhin Sinha to respond to that there are other ways to deal with, striking down inequities, but you need not bring a UCC for that.
Well, good evening, Shivani. Good evening, everybody. The point is, why should we explore the other ways when they border on appeasement? The point is, Article 44 of the Constitution clearly mandates that the state shall endeavour to provide a uniform civil code to all its citizens, where there is no discrimination based on caste, creed. And so when in the past has this attempt been made? And why has this attempt not been made? Ideally, the first attempt should have been made around 1955 when the Hindu Marriage Act was introduced. The next attempt should have been made around the time when Rajiv Gandhi, jettisoned the ruling of the Supreme Court on the Shah Bano case. So we are already late by 7 decades, and it's now or never when what has been mandated in the Constitution needs to be implemented. At the core of it, please try to understand, are the vices like child marriage and polygamy, which have a huge bearing on our society. Do you want our future generations to cope with problems of dysfunctional society? At the end of it, if India has to progress, I think it's about time that all societies wake up to the fact that if there could be one criminal code, IPC, why can't there be one social code when it comes to issues like marriage, when it comes to issues like succession, when it comes to issues like inheritance? And I think it is about time we seriously explore it. I do understand that, there are some so-called secular parties which will habitually oppose it. But that is where the intent of the central government, the intent of the Modi government is very clear. In the past, there have been so many taunts. There have been so many people asking, when would you bring it? And in the past, I would just tell them, don't provoke us with this Tariq ka pata. We have been consistent with our ideological commitments, whether it was the abrogation of Article 370, whether it was the construction of Ram Mandir, and I think it is about time we will go all out to make sure that UCC is a reality in our country.
Okay, let me bring in both the Aam Aadmi Party and the DMK as well. Now, the Aam Aadmi Party surprised possibly even its opposition member alliances, or at least partners in thought, by giving in principle support to the UCC. But let me first go across to DMK's Mr. Gandhi. What makes you oppose UCC and oppose it so vehemently that your party is calling it a violation of fundamental rights, even though, all legal minds believe that when it was added as a directive principle, they were aware of the fact that it will not take away any fundamental rights. And when the law also comes, if it comes, can be made in a manner that fundamental rights, particularly rights to religion, will not be affected by a uniform civil code.
See, first of all, we are very clear on this aspect right from the beginning. We are not in support of uniform civil code because the notion that a uniform civil code could be introduced in a diverse country like India is fundamentally flawed, mainly for two reasons. Firstly, those argue for uniform civil code, I think, does not understand the political history of India. See, the idea of present India was formed post-1947 by uniting 565 princely states and 3 British presidencies. The princely states are ruled by various rulers, following various customs, various religions. Some are following Saivite religion, some were Vaishnavites, some were Muslims, and even Christians. They are the former colonies. So in order to unite them, a common framework was achieved. The framework was what we call it as the Constitution of India. The Constitution of India is nothing but an MOU, that is nothing but a memorandum of understanding between the founders of India and also these particular communities, diverse communities, where some aspects were guaranteed under the Constitution. That is, one is secularism, democracy, etc.
Secularism was not part of
nothing but, secularism is nothing but...
No, secularism was not part of the original Constitution. You want to debate the Constitution? Let's be fair.
No, we can debate. It may not be part of the original Constitution, but the problem is India has been brought as a secular country.
It was meant to be a secular country, but the word secular was only added in the preamble in 1970s.
Even the Honorable Supreme Court has held that the secularism is a basic structure of the Constitution.
Absolutely, it was always meant to be a secular country, but there was a reason. Once again, if we go to the Constituent Assembly discussions, there was a reason secular was not added. It was a thoughtful decision.
That does not mean that India was created as a Hindu country.
Of course not. Of course not. That's precisely the argument that most people make.
The problem is,
India was always secular.
In the Constitution, we guaranteed certain rights.
Yes.
Now we are trying to take away that guarantees.
How?
If we take away that guarantees, these communities will be under stress.
But sir, please, that's exactly the question I asked you to begin with. lawmakers believe and legal luminaries believe that the fundamental rights are not under threat because of a UCC. Now, if you maintain that it is, please explain to me.
No. Which are these lawmakers who believed that it will not be under stress?
Not just lawmakers, even legal luminaries are on record. Sir, 1 second. I don't want to fight with you. The Supreme Court is also on record to bat for a UCC. In fact, they believe there are so many inequities in so many social and civil rulings in India because of these various personal laws that actually it is inimical to cohesion. But I'll leave that aside. I want to understand from you which fundamental right gets affected by a UCC.
Each and everything, every fundamental right. Secularism is a fundamental right. It will be affected by UCC.
Secularism is not a fundamental right.
If at all, let me go a step further. If at all, if you want to bring UCC, first you should bring UCC to Hindus. Because Hinduism is the most stratified religion in the world.
No, I'm sorry. You're changing track now. You're not explaining to me which fundamental... 1 second. Which fundamental right is affected by the UCC?
Each and everything. The secularism and freedom to religion is a fundamental right.
Can you elaborate? Can you elaborate which fundamental right and how?
Practicing a religion is a matter of faith.
Yes.
And matter of faith is a fundamental right. And matter of following a personal law is a fundamental right. And if you want to bring it to Hindus. Because we believe in a religion which stratifies its own followers on the basis of birth and discriminates. Some can become priests.
Okay, I don't want this to be an anti-Hinduism tirade. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to allow you to use this platform to make an anti-Hinduism tirade, which may be your party ideology. I'm not going to allow it.
What do you mean by anti-Hinduism? I'm talking about the facts.
No, because you're picking on one, it shows. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to allow this. I'm not going to let you use my show for this. You answer the question on UCC.
My question is very, very simple. There are two issues. UCC cannot be brought in because UCC violates the fundamental rights of religious minorities, number one. Number two...
Only religious minorities it violates. Religious majorities' fundamental rights it doesn't violate.
How can you compare majorities' fundamental right? What type of argument is this?
Everybody's fundamental right is the same. Are minorities given different fundamental rights in India?
Personal laws are specific for the minorities. Personal laws are specific for
No, there are personal laws that were there for Hindus too.
Fundamental right. Following the personal laws will not affect anybody else. If Muslims are following their own, how does Hindus are affected? If
Christians are following because it's not about whether Hindus are affected because of Muslim personal law.
No, why should you impose
your whole premise is so parochial. Nobody made the argument that Hindus are affected because of Muslim personal law. The argument is that there are Muslim women fighting for equal rights like Hindu women in India. How can you negate the fact that Muslim women want UCC? They want a codified law for themselves.
That is a different thing.
How is it that different?
If Muslim women want UCC, let them fight it in the courts and let them take out the inequalities.
I'm sure they will, but the courts have already said if a law has to come on UCC, it has to come from Parliament. The court cannot decide, but the court did strike down triple talaq.
How Hindus can decide what Muslims should follow?
The Hindus are not deciding. This is by the Constitution.
That's what I'm asking. How Hindus can decide what Muslims and Christians should follow?
Hindus are not deciding. This is a very poor way of looking at this. By that logic, no government in India can do anything. By that logic, no government in India can do anything. You need different governments for Hindus. You want different governments for Muslims. You want different governments for Christians. Different government for Buddhists. Is that what India is? How appalling.
So, does India mean it is for only Hindus?
What are you even talking about?
Then what are you talking about?
This is not a Hindu civil code. This is a uniform civil code. It will be equal for everybody. There are Hindu practices that will have to make way.
Who decides? Who will?
The government decides. The lawmakers decide. That's how it's done.
Who are those lawmakers? Those lawmakers are Hindus.
I don't know how it's done in your party or your government. That's how it's done in India. We have a constitutional and a parliamentary democracy.
That is why it is kept outside the purview of the parliamentary amendments under case 1, the Bharati and Minerva Mills case. Please understand that.
Deshratan Nigam wants to come in. Mr. Siddharth Sharma, please be careful. Be patient. I want to understand your position, but this is just, I don't know. This is appalling politics on UCC. Yes, Deshratan Nigam is a lawyer himself. He wants to come in. Are fundamental rights under danger because of UCC? And this is not a question that only Muslims or Christians ask. There are communities within Hindus too that are worried.
Shivani, let me take this debate from humor to seriousness. And let me tell you the most important pillar is the first fundamental right to equality and non-discrimination. which is on which the entire constitution is based. That's the first fundamental right. But when you see gender discrimination and gender inequality in so far as women are concerned, you tend to think of uniform civil code. Let me tell you, Hindus already have their uniform civil code in which Sikhs, Jains, Buddha and others are also covered, because under the marriage acts, the definition of Hindu is defined to include the other communities as well. So if you have, the focus has to be on inequality and discrimination. If you do that, then you will find Muslim women and other community women who are suffering from discrimination in all political parties, whether it is DMK or any other party. Take any, or the Congress or Aam Aadmi Party. So it does, the discrimination or the inequality is not political party specific. So one has to get out of that ghetto mentality and come out of that. And even the Shiromani Akali Dal representative out here that knows that the Uniform Civil Code is applicable to Sikhs also. Because of
maybe
the
that's why they're opposing, right?
No, I don't know, but nobody is opposed till now. And nobody has filed any petition that these should be struck down. So that's a political, angle which they are taking just because they are no more in coalition with the BJP. Now, if you look at the various practices, now it is not touching religion. It is only touching certain aspects where there is a discrimination: inheritance, adoption, guardianship right, marriages, divorce. Please remember, Hindus did not have a concept of divorce, but we did because of the realities of the times and accepted the concept of a divorce. And therefore, please get out of this ghetto mentality and then do justice. There are women in DMK also who are suffering this. And
okay.
Let me tell you,
let's not make this personal. I don't want to really make this personal about either any party or about any community. Let Siddharth Sharma come in. Siddharth Sharma, everybody is very intrigued by the Aam Aadmi Party's stand. Now, you are obviously very opposed to the BJP. You also want to be in the bloc of the opposition parties fighting the BJP in 2024. As this becomes a big issue that I think we'll possibly be debating quite a bit ahead of the 2024 elections, possibly a bill will be tabled. Why do you feel that you need to support this, at least in principle?
Yeah, Shivani, this debate has a lot of heated exchanges. Let me bring it down a notch with a small analogy. Today afternoon, somebody asked me whether I'd like to have a cake. Of course, my answer was yes, because who would reject a cake? But it's altogether a different question whether that person who is offering me a cake does know how to bake a cake, or does he have money inside his pocket to get me a cake. Obviously, he cannot give me a chili powder and say that this is a cake and you'll have to eat it. So there is a product, and then there is a process. Every housewife knows that even to cook a small quantity of cooked hot rice, you will have to go through a very clear-cut process. Aam Aadmi Party believes that politics is not opportunism, it is abiding by a principle. We know that for the last 75 years, Uniform Civil Code has been part of the India's constitution under Article 44. And incidentally, for people's knowledge, Aam Aadmi Party during its foundation times in 2012, when we did not even have any government anywhere, our founding principles, our guiding force has been the preamble of the constitution. That consists of Aam Aadmi Party's guiding principles. Now, the simple question here is that a product is called, Uniform Civil Code is a product. And how to arrive at that product there is a process.
Okay.
And Article 44 itself clearly says that it has to be a consultative process. My simple question to the BJP here is that, although we are very clearly unequivocally supporting it in principle, but I would like to know from the BJP's spokesperson, who is right now incidentally also represents the government of India, that uniformity and special status are two contradictory stances. And in the Indian Constitution, according to Article 44, you have to you have to bring in uniformity, whereas Article 25, Article 334 and Article 371 give certain special privileges to different sections. Now, will the BJP abrogate these articles, which are a hindrance to Article 44 UCC, to bring about UCC, because they have abrogated Article 370?
Okay, can I take it to him?
No, just 10 seconds. And for people, and this is a breaking news for you. You cannot it's not this way or that way. You cannot have a cake and eat it too. Right now, you cannot put Aam Aadmi Party into BJP's basket, just like you cannot put NDPP of Nagaland in anti-BJP basket, because right now they are an ally of BJP in Nagaland as a government, and they are opposing Uniform Civil Code.
Yeah, so nobody is putting you in the BJP's basket. I reminded everybody again and again that you are opposed to the BJP, but you have offered your principal support to the UCC. I'm sticking to this subject, not to politics otherwise. But Tuhin, please respond. A lot of people do have these questions that it's going to be a highly cumbersome process. There are issues of tribals, there are issues of all kinds of communities, not just about religion alone. And they will have to be brought on board as well. I know the Law Commission is doing its exercise, but the government will also have to do a certain exercise.
Shivani, there is no doubt about it. It is not a simple process, and that is why it requires a decisive, well-intentioned government which does not care for vote bank politics to go ahead with it.
But you have to bring people together. I'm not talking about the BJP's intentions alone, Tuhin. You'll have to bring people together. And Siddharth is very right. We can run this. We can run the graphics on that.
Again,
how many laws we'll have to do away with. Shivani, first of all, let me ask DMK and Aam Aadmi Party. DMK was spreading all kinds of canards that, the Hindus are bringing UCC to disadvantage the minorities. Is the DMK even aware that till 14th of July, the Law Commission is inviting suggestions? So I think, that is the first part of the process. Post 14 July, we will have a clarity on what are the things which will be including in UCC. But for once, let me bring it back to the issue of gender disparity. The core issues which this UCC will address, as I see it, is child marriage and polygamy, both of which are very dangerous to a society going ahead in any progressive society. So I don't think they are religious issues at all. No, but there are issues of succession.
About equality in the truest sense.
Fair enough. And I don't think anybody can oppose that.
Aam Aadmi Party.
But there are issues of succession. There are issues of inheritance,
with all
which
kinds
differ
of chicanery,
for many communities.
These opposition parties will oppose exactly that. These opposition parties are basically hoodwinking the issue. They are, at the end of it, let me tell you, even Aam Aadmi Party will oppose it in Parliament. Right now, they are just, trying to be one up on the Congress party by showing, because they have a bargain going on with the Congress party, they are trying to be one up on it by showing that we have already taken a different stand. But when it comes to discussion, even Aam Aadmi Party, given its Islamist skew the way it exists right now, Aam Aadmi Party is not the Aam Aadmi Party of 2012. I can tell you, wait for 1 month, when the bill is actually tabled in Parliament, Aam Aadmi Party will be the same as the other opposition. Maybe Uddhav Thackeray will be the only person who has a dilemma going ahead with it.
Okay, yes, Siddharth wants to respond.
Yeah, I don't think Tuhin answered the question that the paradoxical articles like Article 25, 334 and 371, which are roadblocks to Article 44 Uniform Civil Code, is the BJP ready to abrogate it? Point number 2, very simply, very succinctly saying that crores of Hindus today are getting certain tax benefits because they fall under Hindu Undivided Family Act. Is the Uniform Civil Code going to change it? Point number 3, Tuhin is saying that we are going through a consultative process. Now, can you answer me that a tribal living in Andaman Nicobar who doesn't have access to either newspapers or television or internet, how can he suggest something to a law which is going to fundamentally change his age-old traditional practices?
Okay, Tuhin, very quickly, I'm running out of time.
Is 30 days enough for such a consultative process?
Yes, Tuhin, very quickly.
Shivani, can I come in?
Yes, when it comes to, I think, what ifs and I don't think there is any room for ifs and buts over here. Even the abrogation of Article 370 required a certain acumen. We went ahead with it. I don't think the UCC, in the way we will bring it, will require abrogation of any of the other articles. These are, like I said, Aam Aadmi Party is already preparing an alibi to oppose it.
No,
and it will oppose it with full pleasure. Because with people like Amanullah Khan,
it's not about
so wait for the bill to come out. In the meantime, just focus on the suggestions which the government is asking you.
2 days ago, the Honorable Prime Minister has very clearly said.
The first draft of the bill has not yet been tabled.
2 days
Please
ago,
try
the
to
Honorable Prime
understand.
Minister
The
has
first
clearly
draft of the
said
bill has not yet
that
been tabled.
this
In the
nation cannot
meantime,
have
what
two
you
laws,
can do is
and the
request
BJP spokesperson is right now
and exhort
saying
all
that they
your
are going through a
constituents
consultative
to
process.
bring forth
The
their
Prime Minister
suggestions
is
so that it
he is ready
becomes
to
an
bring a law.
extremely inclusive
BJP
process.
spokesperson is saying that
You
they are going
travel,
for
you are talking
consultation.
about
One second. Let's not mire this. One second. Can I just come in? Can I just come in?
You are saying,
One second,
you know,
please,
how
both
will
of you,
people
please
from
pull back.
Amendment
Can I just
respond
come in?
to
Can I
the
just
law
come in? I'm
commission
just saying,
guidelines?
let's not make
You,
this
Aam Aadmi
wholly
Party should
political.
travel to
Tuhin, please, so on the subject of UCC alone, please, there are questions on how this will become a reality, and those questions should be answered. Now, I also think that once
there
again,
are questions and that will be addressed.
okay, I also feel like we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Of course, the process is going to be difficult. The process is going to be painful, but possibly the process is worthwhile and deserving. Also, there are going to be issues that will come up, but I don't think these 30 days that the Law Commission is taking is the only time to discuss that. It will eventually be discussed otherwise as well when a draft is prepared. That's not the end of it. So let's not say that.
Can I come in?
Yes, 30 seconds each to Mr. Gandhi first, 30 seconds.
This is only a double standards of BJP. If at all, if they want to pass UCC, what were they doing for the last 9 years when they were in power? Number one. Number two, the BJP spokesperson was talking about child marriages. Of course, banning child marriage is a welcome move. That should be done. But same in Hindu religion, Chidambaram Diksha, that child marriages are happening and their own governor is justifying it. Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi is justifying the child marriage, which is happening in Chidambaram temple. So these are all only the double standards of BJP.
But there's a law that exists against it. Please, let's not confuse it with the fact that it may or may not happen. That's the point. The law needs to exist against it. Yes, Mr. Deshratan Nigam, I don't want to make this a Tamil Nadu versus BJP fight, please. Deshratan Nigam.
Well, I think everybody is saying that the product is good, but they are worried about the process.
Yes.
The process is very clear, amply clear. We have a law commission which is going into taking suggestions, which will come out with its recommendatory report, not binding. Please remember, it is not a binding report, it's an advisory. Now that can be taken up, debated in Parliament. The next step is the Parliament, where the bill will go and everybody will discuss. Why should anybody have a problem with the process or doubt the process?
Can I ask a final question to our Shiromani Akali Dal guest? The fundamental question that we're also looking at, that the opposition parties are wanting to come together ahead of 2024. Could UCC prove to be a roadblock in that? Because different parties seem to have very different views on it.
I don't think so, but one of my questions stands unanswered. What is wrong in the recommendations of the Law Commission 21st, where they have suggested changes in the law without UCC? Why you are not addressing to it? Why for 5 years BJP was sleeping on this report? Why they want a fresh report from a different judge? Why? Why so?
Okay. Well, the Law Commission came out and said one thing, which is that between 2018 and 2022, there wasn't the Law Commission that was active. So this matter became dormant till then. But of course, after 2022, they have taken it first. Yes, Deshratan Nigam, you want to respond to that very quickly? Why not strike out other iniquities? Why UCC?
See, the fact is the earlier Law Commission had not done that great survey. In fact, they went about taking the excerpts from the judgment from the Supreme Court where parties who were opposing it, they have taken that and that extensive survey was not done, which is being done now.
Okay.
The iniquities have to be removed under any circumstances.
This is wrong. 7 lakh
Please understand.
came from
Please
public.
understand. Please understand.
You are misquoting.
The quoting of the Supreme Court judgments.
Law Commission acts for the directions of the union
Please
government.
don't speak at the same time. Please don't speak at the same
Take
time.
suggestions. It is not necessary that all the suggestions will be incorporated.
Yeah, anyways, okay, this is not the issue we're debating. Law Commission's word is not the final word. Everything doesn't get decided by the Law Commission. But anyways, the BJP, one second, please hear me out. The government will explain eventually. I'm sure that question will be posed to them. The government will explain what made it change its mind from the first report in 2018 to now. Yes, Siddharth, very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly, 10 seconds. I think the viewers of CNN IBN by now have become very clear in this debate that the BJP is totally ill-prepared. They have a good product, but they don't know what the process is. Without a consultative and participative process, UCC will end up like the 3 farm laws, brought with much fanfare, withdrawn as a windfall.
On that ominous note, I have to end that debate. I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us.